I mean, the last time I checked yesterday for the September FOMC meeting, I think it's like 90% plus prediction that there will be a cut. So that also would indicate that we'll see some easing, and that'll help markets.
Do you feel like it's going to be a baby cut, or are we going like big fat boy cut?
Welcome back to Bitcoin.com's Token Narratives. I'm Graham Stone, joined by news and research gigabrain, Mr. David Sensel, and happy to have Bitcoin.com CEO Corbin Fraser back in the house. How you doing, sir?
Doing good.
All right, nice.
I'm also okay. Thank you for asking.
Doesn't matter. So let's get into the gut check. Bitcoin has rebounded. The markets have rebounded to an extent. We're trading a little back over 117K. Last week, I think we went as low as 112K. What's your gut telling you, gentlemen?
BitcoinOS is the ultimate upgrade to Bitcoin. Bitcoiners can now experience the magic of the entire crypto world without giving up control of their hard-earned sats, using a system that's based on zero-knowledge cryptography rather than trust the way Satoshi intended. BitcoinOS is powered by the Boss token. The binding energy that reawakens Bitcoin is the foundation of a united crypto world. Enter the Boss token presale and be early to Bitcoin again.
Higher.
I was buying. I was buying those dips.
Bought the dip? Nice.
I bought some dips. Yeah. I don't know. I just, the meta continues to feel like Bitcoin heavy. So holding more doesn't seem ridiculous. I think there were some interesting Ray Dalio tweets recently talking about the devaluation of the dollar. I don't know. Holding stablecoins and holding cash kind of feels dumb. So, I mean, maybe we're getting into bubble territory, but maybe we're not. Maybe Saylor and the strategies are all right, and this thing's going up, and maybe Bitcoin becomes the reserve currency, or maybe it goes to $1 bajillion, or who the hell knows. But regardless if that's correct or not, I think there's still a ways to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
David?
You do look at Bitcoin dominance, though, and it has fallen back down. I think this seems like it was a dead cat bounce, basically. So I wouldn't be surprised if it broke this kind of important 60% whatever level, and we might see alts run here a little more. I do think Corbin's right, though. I feel like we're not done with the Bitcoin is going to kind of rip and suck the liquidity out of everything. I know I've been saying that for a while, so it's no surprise that I would defend my wrong ideas. But I think for the time being, it looks like maybe we're going to have a resumption of focus on alts. Specifically, you look at the narrative around Ethereum right now, a lot of stories coming out. And my timeline is just chock full of all these posts about people are buying Ethereum. The institutions are buying Ethereum. Everyone's loading up on Ethereum. You know, what's his face and the new treasury is going to get 5% of the supply. You know, so you're getting a lot of stuff like that.
It is really funny how quickly that meta has changed. In like 2 months ago, we were on this podcast basically ripping into ETH as like a dumpster fire. This is complete trash. Maybe Sol is better. Who wants ETH? It's got terrible marketing. Nobody's even into it anymore. And now it's like pretty quickly there was this about face with now there's ETH treasuries and there's bull posting going on. And we've got, TradFi people saying ETH is great. And of course, the price going higher does seem to support more interest. So yeah, I mean, ETH's done it incredibly well.
Yeah. And just from a selfish point of view, I think that ETH going up, and I don't really think it hasn't like broken out yet, really. But if it starts to break out, eventually when that fatigues, I think it will feed back much more into the crypto complex than Bitcoin has. I think most of the people who are buying Bitcoin, they don't realize profits and then go out on the risk curve and buy, fucking pumped up fun coins or whatnot. But I think a lot of these ETH profits will go and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just on the Bitcoin dominance chart, just for a sec, I have noticed that recently when the markets are broadly down, Bitcoin dominance goes up, and when the markets are broadly up, Bitcoin dominance goes down. So I think that supports this narrative that when it's risk on mode, people are moving out of Bitcoin and into alts.
Well, I think anyone who's been in the space long enough knows that the multiples on Bitcoin ripping are going to be significantly smaller than the multiples ripping on, say, ETH or an alt ripping. And that's been the case for every alt cycle. You see the 15, 20, the 100x gains on alts. And then, Bitcoin's doing like a nice modest, 1.5x or something like that. And it's still incredibly interesting. But I think for the risk on traders, they're looking for those maximum pumps. And ETH and some of these other assets are just more able to rip.
And I think it's definitely it's also just like an indicator of where we are in the cycle. At the end of these cycles, that's when alt season happens. And actually, it was pointed out to me last week that the same thing actually happens in TradFi, where the less fundamentally valuable stocks tend to outperform at the end of the cycle. So it's basically the same psychology.
I mean, I think the important thing here is still a recurring question that we have, which is where are we in the cycle right now? And I still don't have the feeling that we're kind of near the Boolean blow off top part of the cycle yet. So I still think we have quite a ways to go, personally. I don't know if you guys have changed your tune on that.
Yeah, well, I've got the M2 money supply chart that we often refer to here. It's showing that late September is when we might expect the next sort of peak. It's like it correlates so closely, right? Bitcoin's price with the M2 money supply. Now, David, I know you've said that you shouldn't look at this like exactly, but it does correlate quite closely, and even this latest dip corresponds with a dip in the global M2 money supply, and sure enough, we're getting a bounce. So it would suggest that we've got a little bit of what is that, like 15-20% move here over the next month or two.
The timing of that would be quite interesting. I mean, you got the rumors of money printer going back on by September. Maybe new Fed chair getting put in. I think Donald Trump's been floating around 4 potential candidates that might be taking what's his name, Powell's job. So, yeah, could be interesting.
I mean, I think the last time I checked yesterday, for the September FOMC meeting, I think it's like 90% plus prediction that there will be a cut. So that also would indicate that we'll see some easing, and that'll help markets.
Do you feel like it's going to be a baby cut, or are we going like big fat boy cut?
I would guess it's going to be like a 25 basis point cut. I mean, I think that's the base case. But if Trump is able to kind of exert more influence, it might be bigger. I think 25 is probably good enough, though. I don't think you need to do more. And you get into this weird thing with markets, though. So, like, let's say they do a big cut. That could mean that could actually spook the markets. Like, oh no, the government thinks the economy is much worse than we think, and this kind of thing. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. I think it's better. I think it's more important just the signaling, honestly, than the actual effect. There are a lot of people that I follow who believe that the Fed doesn't really have much influence anymore, and it's more like fiscal policy and stuff like that actually can move markets. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to some fundamentally bullish news here, which is that Trump signed an executive order yesterday directing federal agencies to enable 401k and similar retirement plans to offer investments in alternative assets, including cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. So, according to the White House, over 90 million Americans participate in employer-sponsored defined contribution plans. So those are like, putting money into for your 401k, and they can't easily access that. Basically, they can't put digital assets into that until now. So that would be. I saw a tweet somewhere where it said that actually there's $12 trillion available there, and even if 1% of that went into Bitcoin, it would be I don't know. I can't do math this early in the morning, but a couple $100 billion.
A lot of money. Yeah. Yep. Very, very positive news for crypto. Not that crypto really needed any more positive news in this respect. And I definitely think it's going to drive prices higher for Bitcoin, also gold as well. And just again, another like market signaling. I think it shows that it almost shows to, I think, like older people or kind of more straight-laced people who are not in crypto, normies, if you will, that they need to start thinking about the dollar debasement and what they're going to do about it. Because the fact that they're doing this, I think, really does show that. I think it just kind of chisels away on this notion that you can do nothing and be okay.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity for normie wages that are, planning how to deal with their retirement and have these like matching contributions from their normie wagey job, being able to just say, hey, throw some of that into Bitcoin, it's kind of like a risk off buy for them, where maybe they're still, they need the majority of their salary to pay the bills, deal with expensive groceries and all the nonsense of just day-to-day living. But you can say, all right, like, I'm young enough, I can take the risk. I'm maybe a more risk on retirement planner, from your mid-20s to say your 40s. And you kind of say, let's let some ride in Bitcoin when I'm a little bit of an older fart and I can't afford the potential volatility risk. I'll go back into something boring. But yeah, I mean, like, this could unlock a tremendous amount of interest from, I would say, just, the normie wages that know about Bitcoin. They want it, but they're kind of reluctant to do that full, I'm going to take part of my salary, go find a way to get it into Bitcoin and make that significantly bigger leap than just being like, you guys are already dealing with this. Just keep doing it, but put some into some corn for me, please.
David, a few minutes ago, you mentioned gold. And actually, another piece of news here is that Trump just announced tariffs on 1 kilogram gold bullion to the US. I was wondering if you guys think that's actually bullish for Bitcoin, because you can't really tariff Bitcoin, can you?
I mean, I think you could do creative things to tariff Bitcoin. For example, you could go after miners somehow, maybe. I mean, you have to do some creative whatever. Like, for example, you could try to incentivize miners to be mining Bitcoin in the U.S. Didn't Trump say he was like, I want most of new Bitcoin to be mined in America, American Bitcoin. So there could be an opportunity to do something like that. Tariffing gold, 1 kilogram and over. I don't know much about the gold market in terms of how often physical gold is transferred across
as
border.
As soon as this was announced, there like gold futures of a certain type spiked. And I saw Peter Schiff saying you better get your orders in now on the less than 1 kilogram gold bullion, because that's also going to spike as the market shifts to buying smaller denominations in order to avoid the tariffs on the big ones.
Maybe you guys have some decent theories on this, but every time I see more bullish news coming from the Trump administration related to Bitcoin and just opening things up for, like making it easier for Bitcoin, like, is it all just because they're wanting Bitcoin builders, crypto developers in the US, or is there something like more, I don't want to say nefarious, but like maybe more, I don't know, strategic around all of these decisions that tie into how they plan on dealing with the debt, how they plan on dealing with, I don't know, US dollar debasement, how they plan on dealing with, international monetary policy. Like, do you guys have any insights on like why is Trump getting so, like, why is Trump and the administration continuously pushing Bitcoin forward outside of like, hey, he's got some Bitcoin companies going? Like, there's got to be something more than just personal incentive.
I look at it as him just pandering to the people who elected him. That's how I view it. We know that crypto voters were a big part of the reason Trump got elected, and he's making sure that base is happy. That's how I see it. I don't think there's a 4D chess play with the US actually like looking to accumulate Bitcoin in order to like one day have Bitcoin as the thing backing the US dollar. I don't think they're thinking that far ahead. I just think it's politics.
I would put myself in the middle of that. I think there's obviously on the surface the fact that he's going to enrich himself, which is fine. I mean, Obama went into the White House and now he's got 300 million, something like that, 400, 500. So, it's par for course, I guess. But I actually do think that there is strategy involved here. I don't think that Trump himself decided this. He didn't like wake up one day and was like, you know what, let's tariff gold. I think it's the people around him, and they are kind of working broadly on a strategy to fix the debt and pursue like a strategic financial strength for the U.S. going forward. I don't know if this is a part of that, but I do think that the people around him truly believe that crypto is a way for is truly important in a way for the U.S. to kind of excel in the same way that the internet was. And, the rest of the world, they kind of got the rest of the nations, they kind of got the internet wrong, right? They were slow to it. They tried to regulate it a lot, and America dominated. And the U.S. has been slow to the crypto thing because of the other administrations and stuff like that. But Corbin, I do think that there is more long-term strategy involved, at least from the people around him. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's some cynical part of me that kind of laughs at the 4D, trust the plan, Q, Trump is going to, arrest and drain the swamp. I mean, like, consistently, that has not happened. But I do feel like the people around him in the crypto side maybe are doing their own 4D stuff. I don't think Trump is the 4D chess player, but I do think that, you look at the guys like Besant, you look at their little crypto, inner circle. They've got enough people and enough brain power there to plan strategically. They've got people from big tech, from core businesses that are probably more attuned to kind of being able to plan something beyond just a short administration. Yeah, I'm hopeful, but I'm also kind of like not so naive to think that it may just be, what's good for Daddy Trump is good for Americans.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that, but I also, just having read some of the material from the people that surround Trump, the thing that I've noticed, at least compared to the Biden admin or even Trump 1.0, is there is evidence out in the public of long-term thinking, right? Like multi-decade thinking of where the U.S. is going and what we need to do to fix what America needs to do to fix its problems. And that, to me, at least, was missing entirely from the previous admin. And obviously, I'm biased because I work in the crypto industry, but I do think crypto is going to be an inevitable part of the future. And so I do think that it's great that the U.S. might be using it strategically.
Yeah, I mean, like I would say the one thing I'm very confident about is that Bitcoin crypto is going to continue to grow in interest and grow in size and grow in volume, and it's just going to continue to tap into the TradFi markets and pull liquidity away. And like, very confident 10 years from now, we're still going to be talking about Bitcoin and crypto in some aspect. So then, yeah, my hope would be that the administration and some of these other government entities would be saying, like, we should be planning for that, because if we're not, we're going to be caught with our pants down, and I don't know, some other superpower is going to bolt on their power onto the opportunity instead of the U.S. So it is, I think probably in some ways too, they have to be looking at, the pressure from BRICS and China to kind of say, like, man, like, Russia can do long-term planning, China can do long-term planning. This whole democracy thing, it is somewhat tricky to do long-term planning. And, if you can get an administration and get things through Congress and strike while the iron's hot, you might be able to lock down some long-term planning for this particular asset class and this technology. And like you said, just treating it like the next internet gold rush, the next internet boom, and making sure that you're kind of at the forefront.
I mean, I think you look at like the Genius Act that got passed a couple of weeks ago. To me, that's like a very clear sign that people in Trump's admin are thinking long term, right? And they've been talking about it before he was even elected. Like, this is where the Treasury demand is going to come from. This is how we're going to make sure that the dollar stays relevant. And it worked. I think. I mean, it's still early days, but when you have like Lagarde from the ECB get out there and be like, and say coping statements like, we don't like stable coins, they're dangerous, they interfere with our nation's sovereignty, blah 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 blah, use our CBDC. To me, that's a good sign. You're like, yeah, you're worried. And
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Genius Act, the more I read about it and think about it, the more I'm kind of like, this is just a watered down garbage. There's no there's no staking. You're not allowed to offer yield on it. It's like fully surveilled, and it's just like I don't know, like, it seems like it was written by the banks in order to actually stop the innovation.
Did you see the news last week from PayPal? I put it in my newsletter. PayPal is offering staking rewards on their whatever the heck their stablecoin is. So it was a decently big story that people predicted that all these issuers would easily find a way around the bank lobbyists' attempt to kind of retain some relevancy. And PayPal last week announced, I forgot what they called it, rewards or something, but basically it's just a way around these rules. And so they're going to offer staking yield.
Well, how long is it until PayPal gets shut down for doing something like that, like taken to court by the banks or something? Right?
They'll probably be taken to court, but I don't think they're going to be able to prosecute them because it follows the airline miles kind of playbook. And so then you'd have multiple lobbies who are like, hey, hold on a second, right? Like airline miles also, this is how they kind of got around this too. They can offer money, right? And there was, I think you and I have talked about this before, Graham, but there was the banks and other groups were upset with airline mile programs in the past because it was too money-like, right? They were like, no, this is, and I think there were clashes and stuff, and the airline, whatever lobby or whatever, they won that kind of fight. So I don't know. I feel like this kind of rule in the Genius Act, they wanted to get it passed, and they knew probably immediately that they were going to be able to get around it. So I don't know. I'm fairly confident that it'll probably stand.
So do you think people in the US and other developed countries will actually start using stablecoins?
You mean more than they already are now?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a quality product. I'm a poor spokesman for this. There's a lot.
But David, in the pre-show, we were talking about how there was a new study that came out that said that Gen Z folks in the US, 70% of them said that they would be open to taking their salary in stablecoins. And you're like, I don't believe that. So what did you mean by that?
Because they live in a developed country. They have a functioning stablecoin already. It's called the US dollar through ACH. And
so isn't that contradicting what you're saying? Like,
no, because the stablecoins I think are really, and this is not me who's said this, but the real power of stablecoins is it gives people who don't have the privilege and access that like at least Americans do, easy access to US dollars. So this could help Europeans more.
That's my question.
I'm assuming.
Okay.
Well, I'm assuming that study was U.S. based. I'm assuming that they were talking.
Yeah.
They like surveilled U.S. Zoomers, and so I was like, I don't. Doesn't seem like.
Part of me thinks that there may be, like, so just recently there was some talk of stablecoins being eligible deposit methods for brokerage accounts. So maybe for some folks receiving payment, if they were to say, hey, I'm cool taking some stables, give me some of that USD1 or USDT or whatever government allowed stablecoin they're eligible for. Maybe it's sort of like they can still use that within their savings and say personal, I don't know, financial goal planning. I would say, though, it's still not yet at the point where people are saying, okay, I'm going to, load up my phone with my stable coins and go fill up my gas tank in my car. Like it's not quite there. Now, that's not to say that we can't be there within a year. Like I do feel like things could move quite fast here. So there's part of me that does think that those people that maybe did respond, yeah, I'd take some stable coins. They're looking at it from like access to markets, access to DeFi, access to shitcoinery, access to potentially brokerages and perps, and being able to kind of trade their way out of poverty. Then maybe some part of them are also thinking, maybe I can actually use this, or they may also just have this misguided belief that they can actually use their stablecoins to fill up their gas right now, which is pretty limited. Yeah.
Anecdotally, though, I'm hearing more and more reports, even in the U.S., of small businesses accepting cryptocurrency payments, like your local plumber or roofer, just being like, yeah, I'll take USDT on Solana. Just send me the crypto. And I do think that the reason that people kind of want it on the crypto networks is so that they can then play in the markets, in the crypto markets.
I can share that somewhat, I mean, it's anecdotal, but like all of all of my tradie friends back home that are just in the blue collar jobs, they're all incredible degenerates. They're trading they're trading stuff that I wouldn't touch. But I think it's because they're a little bit more risk on. They might be liquid enough as well where, they haven't seen their wages quite beat up as much as like the white collar, normie jobs. So they're still pulling in, $100 an hour jobs as plumbers or, roofers or, framers or whatever. And they're doing pretty well. And they've got enough money. They got their truck paid off. And they're like, yeah, I'm just kind of gambling in these shit coins and having some fun and made some money. Or they know a friend who's made money, so they're still trying to. And they're, comfortable enough with some of the platforms out there to take those bets. But that is completely anecdotal. Take that for what it's worth.
So let me see if I can, taking what you guys have said, this is how I would view it basically. So you have two ways you could receive your salary, for example. You get it in bank money, right? Let's say it's in USD, and that goes into your bank account. Now you want to do things with that money, right? So you can send that to pay off your credit card. You can send it to a brokerage account, the cash. You could send it to a crypto exchange to get into that arena. Or the other way is you get USDT to a wallet, and then you have to use that to then pay for things, right? So I think, so for example, then if I wanted to pay off my credit card right now, usually normie credit card, not like a crypto connected credit card, then I have to send it to my bank account, and then from my bank account, send it to my credit card. I think the friction there is just too much right now. But like you said, Corbin, I think it's probably more than a year, but you have crypto connected credit cards and all this kind of stuff. Soon it'll just be easier to have it as a stable coin. I just don't think it's there yet. And I think the real demand right now is outside of America, right? Like, do a lot of traveling for conferences. Corbin, I know you travel a lot too. And it would be so much nicer to be able to pay. I find this happens all the time. Even though I have a credit card, even though I have a credit card that works everywhere, it'd be so much easier if I could just use stable coins to pay everywhere. And I know in a lot of these countries, they would prefer that because they don't want to get money in their local crappy currency. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to that. I would love to be able to do that. There is still this paranoid part of me that is scared to use the stable coins because they're all tied to these public addresses that, you send $100 for, I don't know, you're paying your bar tab or you're picking up dinner for your friends. And, that wagey, the normie guy taking your money, it's a quick URL lookup to say, what's this guy worth? Holy shit. Okay. Maybe he's got some money. Yeah. We could rob him in the parking lot. And
that's very true.
So there is this potential. I mean, this is where I still feel like these privacy stablecoins, I've talked about them a lot recently, but I do feel like if you're going to be using them in public, that's still the most sane, logical way to do that. But it does feel like all of the current larger stablecoins, they're not touching that. They don't want they don't want that. And I mean, this ties into probably some of our stories coming up with Tornado, but like privacy is still this part of crypto that nobody in the powers that be wants to acknowledge or accept is a core part of this ethos. And we're all just focused on the gains and the brokerages and the trading and the memes and the access. But the reality is anyone with your stable coins, or you send your stable coins to anyone or receive stable coins, you can have complete public visibility on what those people are worth. So it's like walking around a video game and you can see the value of all of the characters' bags above their head, and you know who to kill in GTA to take their money. It's like
GTA 5 style.
Yeah, it's just super weird. So like, I mean, there's a reason why we started supporting Freedom Dollar and the Bitcoin.com wallet. There's a reason why these privacy stablecoins are slowly emerging. And it's just like, people need that awareness that, hey, you use that stablecoin to, buy diapers or pay for gas for your car. The guy filling up your gas who's maybe got like not a pot to piss in might be thinking, I got that guy's license plate. Let's go get him.
Yeah, that is a great segue into the Tornado Cash topic. But before we get to that, I just want to quickly add a little one more component to the stablecoin argument, I think, which is the fees, right? So I was listening to, I think it was Jim Bianco last week, and he noted that 150 years ago, like the Pony Express, if you wanted to do it like it was like the first like a Western Union and a Telegram that like they to transfer money from like the east to the west of the U.S., it would cost you 3% to do that. So if you wanted to send $100 to someone, it would cost you $103 to do so, right? And that's when they actually put gold or whatever it was, like a US bucks or what, I don't know what it was, the dollar, if the dollar even existed back then, but they actually would put that on a horse and travel it across the country, and they would charge you 3% for that transaction. Fast forward to today, and it's still 3%. But there's no ponies involved. There's no horses. It's a digital transaction, and it's I don't know. It's
why they're making
absurd.
so much money.
Exactly. So that's why
Great
ripe
scam.
for disruption.
Great scam.
Yeah. You see, what is it? Every like major sporting event, you see these giant signs everywhere with the credit card processors. Yeah. Gee, I wonder why.
Exactly. I mean, people have pointed out this is actually a major drag on global commerce. Like 3% on like the vast majority of like transactions is not insignificant. You could argue that it's like a full percentage or two of GDP, actually. So, all right, let's get into the Tornado Cash thing. So what happened here is a verdict came down, right? So just for background, Tornado Cash, there's this guy, Roman Storm. He was a developer of Tornado Cash. He had the book thrown at him. He's been like fighting this case for years now. Basically, the government's saying that he was facilitating like money laundering and evading U.S. sanctions because Tornado Cash was used by North Korea at some point. And then the third one was that he's like an unauthorized, unlicensed money transmitter, right? So the verdict came down. Basically, it was a mistrial. So the jury didn't decide either way.
Partial mistrial
on two of the three charges. The verdict, the jury didn't decide. There was a hung jury. So that means that the government, if they want to, they can bring this case again, and we can discuss whether we think they will actually do that. And then the third charge, which was the money transmitter, the unlicensed money transmitter one, he was found guilty of that. Sentencing hasn't. There will be an appeal. Sentencing hasn't. So that's an interesting one as well. So I don't know which of these you guys want to discuss first.
Can we step back to just before this, because this story ties with the Samurai Wallet case, which concluded last week, and it was kind of heartbreaking. So kind of the Samurai Wallet is very similar to Tornado Cash in terms of obfuscating what's it called, the origins of funds, which helps, as Corbin was talking about earlier, it helps make it so when you transact, people can't see your entire net worth, basically. I think that's one of the biggest use cases for it. Anyway, the two creators of Samurai Wallet, the co-founders, they pleaded guilty to conspiracy to operate an unlicensed money transmitting business. And in exchange for pleading guilty to this, the government dropped the more serious charges of money laundering. So it's heartbreaking to see these guys who I think are completely not guilty of this. This is insane, but they'd rather take the safer route and plead to a lesser charge to avoid the kind of dice roll on these more severe charges.
Well,
So that was last week.
This is where I get confused, because it really does feel like the head is not talking to the tail, or that's at least what it seems, at first glance, that you've got on one hand people saying choke point 2.0 is over, crypto is great, we want Bitcoin, Genius Act, stablecoins, use your retirement and get some Bitcoin. It's going to be great. We're all going to be Bitcoin bajillionaires together to the moon. And then on the other hand, they're like, let's send these guys to jail. Let's throw the book at them. And nobody's like stepping in to say,
for making software.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, like if you understand how Tornado worked too, it was completely self-custodial. So like, Roman, the developer behind there, was never like the guy behind the scenes sending funds for users. He was never the one mixing the funds. He just wrote code that let anyone deploy money into a smart contract, which would then get pooled into this obfuscation tool. And then it would come out in different amounts and different addresses, and you would be able to receive your newly private funds that are the same as the ones you deposited, minus, I think, some small protocol fee that Tornado took. And, at the end of the day, he was not sending money. He was not receiving money. He just wrote the code. The code lived on the blockchain via the Ethereum and various other EVM chains. So it was a smart contract that would receive the funds and do all of the obfuscation. And they threw the book at him. It's completely asinine. And, they're like the DOJ or whoever's prosecuting these guys are like making these concessions of, oh, maybe we can if you settle for this, we won't throw the complete book at you, but we're going to make sure we lock you up in a cage for a couple years just to let you know, hey, we don't need any of this privacy stuff going on. We don't want people, feeling secure with crypto. But so it's completely, it just does not make any sense to me. So it's either I have to assume it's the head's not talking to the tail, right? Maybe you got part of the administration saying crypto's great, and then you got some part that's still being like, wow, crime and terrorism and North Korea. Maybe it's something like that, or it could be just that they only want public crypto.
Yes,
and then that's the conspiracy part of my brain is like, this is the CBDC, guys. They've just relabeled it. It's now Stablecoin Act. It's now Genius Act. It's now we're cool with crypto as long as we can spy on everything you fucking do.
I think it's that,
David.
Well,
and it's the spying, and the talking about whether or not this could support North Korea. I think that's actually not as important to the government. What they 99% care about is tax.
But I think, though, this trial is a holdover from the previous administration. Right? This is already in motion for a while, I think, and so
definitely,
I don't think this has anything to do with the current admin. And in fact, here's my prediction: is if Storm kind of decides to pursue a retrial or whatnot, I think you'll see the DOJ back away from it, right?
So the DOJ would be the ones who would have to bring the case again. So we're going to find out here shortly if they actually do, and that will I think will be very telling.
Yeah, and because I don't, like Corbin was saying, there's some cognitive dissonance in terms of what the current admin is doing with other areas of crypto, and then this verdict. But I mean, again, this was in motion for a while, and you can't just. Maybe you can. I don't really know, but you can't just
the Department of Justice. It's a huge behemoth. Does the current Attorney General appointed by Trump? I think her name is Pam Bondi. Does she even know about this case?
BitcoinOS is the ultimate upgrade to Bitcoin. Bitcoiners can now experience the magic of the entire crypto world without giving up control of their hard-earned sats, using a system that's based on zero-knowledge cryptography rather than trust the way Satoshi intended. BitcoinOS is powered by the Boss token, the binding energy that reawakens Bitcoin as the foundation of a united crypto world. Enter the Boss token presale and be early to Bitcoin again.
Who knows?
I mean, isn't she the same one that was saying she had all the Epstein files, and then it seems like she's a bit of a goofball? So, I mean, I just have to assume that maybe
I think
she doesn't know what she's doing, or is she just the face of a bigger machine that is actively attacking anyone creating privacy features? So I mean, this whole case, though, if it doesn't go well, it does have these. It has these incredible implications on all self-custodial products and smart contracts, and it gives case law for them to continue to prosecute developers, which is strange when you hear, "Hey, we're going to be we're the new headquarters. We're the America Bitcoin, America crypto. All the builders come here." But you might get arrested if you add some ZK into your contracts, or if you make it a little bit harder for criminals to find you and cut off your fingers like they do in Paris.
I mean, again, I'd be surprised if the fallout of this isn't positive, because I do believe that the current admin and the people in the administration, they don't want these kind of outcomes that Corbin's talking about, right? Like contributing to open source software or just writing software. It makes you liable for like what's it called, criminal charges. It's it freezes development. It stifles innovation. And
then where's the public outcry from these people that are supposedly on our team? Where's the Truth Social posts from the administration saying this is kind of telling? So the fact that they're completely quiet, it makes me think they're in on it, or they've been told to STFU while the lawyers deal with this.
I mean, so it depends on what you mean by the current administration, but like, for example, Hester Pierce had a letter that was very coincidentally released just before this announcement. It was released after the Samurai Wallet thing and before the Storm verdict. But basically, in Hester Pierce, SEC commissioner, she advocated for privacy, right? And it was a strong advocation for it. So I don't know. I mean, I would say I guess I still would be hopeful, and it just I don't see the doomsday scenario of what you guys are talking about in terms of the government wants absolute control, which I do agree to some extent, but to how much though? But again, we'll see in the coming weeks, right?
Yeah, I think the government is just never going to be happy with privacy in the financial realm. That's like the opposite of what the government wants.
Well, then, I mean, I go very tinfoil where I start thinking, well, who actually runs the government? Who is the swamp? Is it the three-letter agencies, the ones that are spying on their neighbors and spying on Americans? Are they the ones kind of calling the shots? And, there's certain things that politicians are allowed to do and not allowed to do. And it could very well be that some of these three-letter agencies are just seeing privacy as a insurmountable problem that they can't address. So they're being very strongly, or maybe encouraging the people in power, the voted in people in power, to say, hey, like, let's not do that. And if you do that, we know who's on that Epstein list.
Exactly.
I love it. All right, well, hold on. I already kind of know that this is going to be contentious, but I understand the government's dilemma here, which is they need to raise revenue via taxes in order to carry out operations for the people, and in some ways, like truly private money gets in the way of that to a fundamental level. And so I do think that there has to be some compromise here or something of that nature to have this truly work. You can't have like a functioning high trust society, if you will, where you have people, private people, kind of like try to use the privacy features to avoid taxes and things of that nature. So I don't know. I mean,
I think you're out to lunch. You're huffing Trump's farts here.
Absolutely.
This is I mean, like look at the historical, United States from, let's say, 1800s to, let's go 1989, maybe 1995. Cash-based society. Everyone used cash. Cash is private by default. Very few people were paying with, maybe some checking things were going on by the 70s and stuff like that, but everything was cash-based. So the birth of the United States was tied to this little greenback dollar or this little piece of paper that was completely private. So you could have, $1,000 under your mattress, pay someone to build a house and pay someone to look after your kids and pay someone to feed your horse or whatever. But this whole country was built on cash that was private. And it wasn't until the banks and this like erosion of trust. So I think the trust-based society was when the privacy and when the cash was there. It's the erosion of trust that's created this, like, they've created that.
Okay. I'll take it back even further, Corbin. Why was a US denominated currency created in the first place? Because way back then they were using currencies of other origin, right? Like Spain and England and stuff like that. Why did the US government, issue a currency in the first place? And the only reason was to levy taxes. Now, you could say that the government was much smaller then and all this kind of stuff. That's true. But that is the main reason why a US denominated currency was started to begin with, to pay taxes.
I would say it was also created, though, to allow people to trade value, right? Like, they knew people are going to trade value. They knew people are going to... They were using British pounds and other countries' currencies for that. They were
definitely. That's their goal, is to rake in as much money from their people as possible in order to control as much as possible, control as much of the money flow as possible. And it's just steadily over the last 50, 75 years become more and more of a panopticon that has just like increased their ability to ensure everyone is paying as much tax as they could possibly extract from them. And that's just going to continue. Like, I mean,
it just feels like this is an extension of, the Patriot Act and this like large scale data mining of, you just scrape everything. You scrape every single piece of data, you scrape every piece of on-chain data, and you've got everyone's address. Now, you might not have gone after Bob, who has $1,000 in stablecoins, but you could. And if Bob ever, speaks out of turn, says the wrong thing, you can easily pull up all of the data that you've, sleuthed over his lifetime of, say, 25 years. He's 25 years old, and look up every transaction he didn't pay taxes on, every little thing he did wrong. And this kind of ties into this just like data mining that it feels like the government is pushing, and privacy gets in the way of data mining so that you can control people. You can look back on their history, and it's that, show me the person, I'll show you the crime thing. And I mean, privacy does get in the way of that.
Yeah. And that's why they're okay with Bitcoin.
Well,
because it's not really private.
It's not private at all. It's perfectly trackable and forever.
Well, it can be private, but
not really.
It's hard. It's hard.
The mixing doesn't even really work on a high level.
Well, I mean, you can obtain Bitcoin privately.
You could.
I don't think so.
You could upgrade Bitcoin to make it private, but and this is why Zcash devs left. This is why people ended up on Ethereum to go try things there. There's been privacy on Bitcoin Cash, which is a fork of Bitcoin. They had Cash Shuffle and then Cash Fusion, and they're mixing CoinJoin and shuffling, and there are ways to make it incredibly difficult, or at least horribly painful and expensive, to try to untangle what is happening. Maybe quantum and high compute could solve that. Maybe AI could still break through some of those things, but I think the necessity for true privacy crypto which is, I think, the fundamentals of what cryptocurrency was supposed to be. Like that was kind of the whole ethos. It's just, it shocks me that so many people and administrations and government entities and, crypto people that are self-proclaimed pro-crypto are also kind of like, it's just like, we need this. It's okay. We accept this. I wouldn't accept the government reading my mail. I wouldn't accept the government, having access to my computer at all times. I wouldn't accept, a Amazon Alexa in the corner that the feds can snoop in on my dinner conversations. And I don't think people should be able to, should accept the government being able to mine their on-chain data to figure out how much they're worth, who they're transacting with, and what they're doing.
Well, I mean, public on-chain data is different. I mean, because it's public. But look, yeah. I am a staunch advocate of privacy coins, and I would dare say I've probably used them more legitimately than both of you combined. So it's not like I don't like privacy coins. It was my first love in crypto. Having said that, I do understand to some extent why the government would chafe at this. This is not to say that I don't think that we should have privacy coins, and I think we will. But
they're absolutely going to fight it.
Yeah, well, of course, but also, and they have a good case in some ways. This is my point. Is I feel like when I talk to a lot of like crypto OGs and stuff like that, you get lost in the kind of libertarian absolutism. Yeah, and it's like
guilty of that,
we get full 100% privacy or Armageddon. It's like, guys, come on, we're gonna.
Yeah, I mean,
we've got to get something.
Sure,
somewhere.
Like,
right?
I'm kind of happy to have the government exist. Is that a cucked thing to say?
No, of course not. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's a sad state of affairs that you have to like be worried that that's a indefensible thing.
But I don't think they should have as much power as they do, and I think they should have to. It should be hard for them to find out all your financial history, and it actually should be up to the individual to honestly just pay their taxes. I think.
Well, I think this is what really irks me. It's less that they're trying to do this; it's that they're trying to do this without permission from the people. Nobody voted to say, sure, we accept the government will track this. There was never a vote. There was never a, referendum. There was never a, hey, well, how do you guys feel about this? They just did it. They just did it, and they're doing it, and they're continuing to do it. And then they're now building case law to try to continue to do this so that if and when people ever raise their hands and say, hey, why are we doing this? Well, this seems unfair. It's like, tough shit, man. It's look at this big book. How are we supposed to unwrite this whole book of case law that says we can do this? We're not going to do that. It's the encroaching power of the government and this like amoebus nature of it to just grow and grow and take and take and take. And then by the time you realize you're in the panopticon, it's too late.
He got caught, guys.
We lost you there, but we are fully in. Yeah, they cut the powers that be. That's right.
Oh God, I'm scared now.
Exactly. Well, don't mention Panopticon too many times.
It's a shame that he got cut off mid rant too. He was really he had a full head of steam there. Now that Corbin is defenseless, let me put in my wet blanket.
Okay.
I think that I think it's kind of naive to assume that the government is going to allow this to happen, and they're not going to fight tooth and nail for this. And so it is. Oh gosh, he was back. I think it is the role of citizens to exercise their power or whatever, collective power, to try to get change for this.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You got to push back.
And because his point, like no one asked for this, but no one complained about it either, right? Nobody, there's a funny anecdote. We Americans look at China, right, broadly, and they're like, oh, look at this communist controlled system. It's terrible. How can they stand it?
Yeah.
And then you talk to Chinese, they're like, hey, my life has improved. Everything's better.
Yeah.
So
And then
they're happy.
to your point, David, about people like pushing back, like that's the responsibility of the citizen in a democracy is to push back on these things. And I guess we have to acknowledge that people are pushing back to an extent, and politicians have got the memo, right? So you are seeing, as we discussed, people like the head of the SEC saying that privacy matters. You're getting at least token acknowledgement at the highest levels in the White House that we're not going to do a CBDC. Now you could argue whether that's just like smoke and mirrors or political theater, but at least they're pretending to pander to the masses because they have recognized some kind of shift. People do actually care about this, so. Get riled up, get out there.
I was a little riled up there. Sorry, guys. I got cut off. I think the Vietnamese internet company said, shut him down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, okay, can I pivot slightly to this? Because I think Corbin brought this up a while ago, but I think this kind of this topic really highlights the importance. I use the word highlight. God, GPT-ness. Oh, terrible. This topic really kind of focuses on the importance of decentralization, right? And like what that means today. And
they got you. Oh, you're back. Okay.
Am I back? So I think this kind of refocuses the idea on what is decentralization, what does it mean today, and I feel like, tell me if you feel differently, but when I talk to people in crypto and I see different things online, decentralization is kind of like an antiquated word now. People kind of like, oh god, decentralization. No one really
roll
cares
their
about
eyes.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
It used to be an investment thesis. Like invest in the decentralized protocol, but now it's more like just speed.
And it's like, it was foundational. I think Corbin mentioned this, right? It was foundational to what crypto meant, right? Decentralization as this thing that was indispensable. Whereas, at least I feel like it doesn't really mean that at all right now. And I don't even know what it would mean in today's crypto parlance, decentralization. But I mean, like, you hear all this stuff about Hyperliquid, right? It's on 4 servers or 16 servers in Tokyo, right? Is that decentralized? Solana in its cabal of validators. Then you have Ethereum and Bitcoin. So I don't know. I don't know if you have feelings about this.
Well, I would just say that at least like in the Roman storm scenario, the network is decentralized, so he was able to deploy this thing, and the government, so far at least, isn't going after Ethereum node operators for being unlicensed money transmitters and evading Korean sanctions or whatever. They're just going after the specific developer. Now, that could be because, right, the network is decentralized enough. If they did the same thing, if the same sort of protocol was launched on something less decentralized, I don't know what, like Solana, would that have changed the equation? Like, would they have actually just been like, okay, we're just going to approach these 20 validators or whatever it is and just tell them to stop this?
I mean, I just can't help but see this as like the shot across the bow for every developer that thought about building something on crypto or on creating a smart contract. Any potential like little CS grad that was like, hey, I think I want to get into crypto. I want to start building stuff. And they see that these guys that are just shipping code are going to jail. What percentage of CS grads or new developers or existing developers are going to say, I'm just not going to do that. I have a family. It's just not worth it for me. I'll go work at the telecom and fix their shitty bugs.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll keep anyone from getting into crypto, but they're just going to make like the next.
They're not going to make privacy things,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. They're going to stay far away from privacy.
But I would argue that the privacy components, protocols, whatever, they'll still get made. But it'll just people will be more careful about it, and you're not the next Roman storm is going to be like Satoshi, anonymous.
Yeah, I mean, I think one maybe positive from this is I think you can kind of bucket this narrative of decentralization into three buckets. You had the beginning where decentralization was kind of one of the pillars of crypto, and it was that for like existential reasons. Without decentralization, these like digital value transfer mechanisms were not possible, right? Because the traditional financial system was like, get the hell out of here. We're not going to, you don't get to come in, right? And so they had to be decentralized to even start. And so that was why it was so important. Now we're in the middle bucket now, where the mainstream is basically accepting crypto, TradFi's piling in, and lo and behold, what do you see? No one really cares about decentralization, right? Because it's the existing system is kind of accepting it. We have enough infrastructure already to prevent it from like really being degraded too much. And so people are like, decentralization doesn't really matter. But I think this privacy stuff, and you're starting to see this more and more, at least on my timeline, from I think like 6 to 8 months ago, you started just seeing more and more and more talk about privacy coming up. And I think it'll reintroduce this idea of decentralization as an important feature, because I don't think you can have privacy without decentralization, right? I don't think it just is not possible. Yeah. And so, yeah, you might see like a reinvigoration of it.
Yeah, I could see that. And you are seeing the marquee privacy protocols have done well amongst investors as well recently. People have been investing in them. So like I believe Zcash, Monero, Zano, they're all kind of up pretty big over the last year as people perhaps are seeing this shift.
Yeah, I do feel like decentralization sort of became a greenwashing word where people could use it to raise funds, to kind of flex on, I guess, Web 2 and be like, well, yeah, you're a Web 2 company. I'm Web 3. I do decentralized, we're blockchain, and it was a bit of a LARP. But I think there is this like return to true decentralization, and that being a requirement for privacy and for like the future of crypto or the future of Bitcoin. Even it's gonna need that. You can't throw that out, or we're really in hot water.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good place to end it, guys. So if you want to get deeper into the decentralized topic, David's going to be actually speaking on another podcast about 8 or 9 hours from now. So check that out. And thanks again, Corbin, for joining. And thanks for everyone for listening. That's it for Token Narratives for this week.
Yeah.
See y'all later.
Appreciate the Epstein comments. Oh,
gotta have
that flavor.
They're a classic.
Gotta have that flavor.
They're a crowd favorite.
Okay, we're out.